Hello everyone, thank you for joining. I am Jisary and I welcome you to my channel where I do all different kinds of creative content. What is game design? As some of you might know, I am a professional game designer. Often when I am asked what my profession is, I say that I'm a software developer. Because people tend to have at least a vague idea of what a software developer is and does. So no one asks further questions and the topic gets switched. When I say I'm a game designer though, people often look somewhat confused. Game designer? What is that? Do you remember the memes from several years ago? Yeah, exactly those. So according to those, I am playing video games all day. Awesome! Jokes aside though, this is not what game designers do. This is what QA is doing. But jokes aside for real now, let me enlighten you what game design is. Game design is a very wide field of work. You might think, what do you mean? They are game designers. They design games. Doesn't sound too hard or complicated. And that is true on the surface, but designing a game needs so much. Let me show you what I mean. Let's imagine a circle. The circle represents all the facets of game design around a video game. Where the center is the core of the game, and the further you go to the outside, the more adjacent it gets to other disciplines. Let's start from the core. First, we have the systems designer, also sometimes called feature designer. Especially nowadays, where games get bigger and bigger and need more and more content that needs to be replayable, they consist of many features or systems. These are the designers that design the basics of the game, how features work, how they interact with each other, and often also how the player progression goes through them. These designers are needed from the very beginning of the project. As soon as the concept is done, they design the details for the concepts and are often part of the prototypes and early first implementations. Then we have the gameplay and combat designers. They build the next row and start working on specific designs that are gameplay heavy. For example, shooting mechanics in an FPS or the combat in an MMO. These are also systems, or features of course, but combat, or features that form the biggest amount of moment-to-moment gameplay, often need the most attention. These features are also often the ones that get iterated the longest and tweaked until the very end, which is why the designers have always something to work on during the whole project. This also includes the fact that a lot of what other designers do influence gameplay system, which in turn creates more work for them. Adjacent to all three of the ones that I just mentioned are the technical designers. They do similar work, but they close the gap between design and tech. Their designs, as the name might suggest, are way more technical and less experience-driven. They take the description of a feature and translate it into technical implementation details. In some companies, the systems designers or the gameplay designers can do this and no technical designers required. But the bigger the game is, the bigger the chance that a technical designer is there to help. The more complex a game is and the more systems a game has, the harder it is to know all the technical details. And while all of those fine folks are already hard at work, a very different type of game designer is also busy at the same time. The level designer. Levels are important in all games. No matter if you make a platformer, a linear story game with set pieces, or open world crafting, the world and level are always very important for everything. The level tells a story, it supports the gameplay, it motivates players to explore and immerses them. Or not, when you have bad level design. Level designers are very versatile, needing to be able to prototype, also called blockouts, up until polishing up the level. Some even touch into the environmental artist territory, a very creative and unique part of the game design sphere. And what goes hand in hand when it comes to telling a story? Exactly. The narrative designer, also called writers. These designers define the lore, story, and general setup of the setting of the game. Most of the times they get requirements and some vague ideas handed in from above and need to dive into the nitty-gritty details. They need to do a lot of research as well, especially in games with historic background or games that play in actual parts of the world. The narrative designers need to become specialists in that field. Otherwise, they might present people or events wrong, leading to backlash for the project. They always work closely to the level designers to give the story-based requirements for the world and to define central locations and landmarks. They also often write a lot of texts and dialogue. And then there are the content, mission and quest designers and/or scripters. As the name might suggest, they take all the requirements from the narrative designers, look into what the level gives them for options, and make content out of everything. These designers often work a lot in engine, and due to the sheer amount of content and games needed nowadays, they are often dependent on tooling. Creating quests by hand takes a lot of time otherwise. This group of designers normally comes in a bit later in the project lifecycle, when pre-production starts, ramping up through production. They don't do much actual design work, but hands-on implementation, and are often also part of testing the content they create intensely. They also need to know all the features in and out so that they can create content with them. Often, especially in smaller teams, these designers do their balancing themselves. But sometimes there are actual economy designers who do the overall balancing of the game. They spend a lot of time in spreadsheets, doing math and making sure the game economy, progression and features work in terms of numbers. They often work a lot with telemetry, identify blockers and formulate solutions for them. If the project is online and the release of the game is not the end, there are also often live op teams. Within these teams are often the live ops or event designers and monetization designers. The role of those is to keep the game going. While event and live op designers often design more content for the game, the monetization designer is in charge of, well, the monetization. They design the actual monetization of the game, like premium currencies and the general economy, but also how the ongoing monetization is done. They often monitor monetization data, identify problems, and define content and measures to increase revenue. And over all of them looms the next one, the UI/UX designer. Everyone's favorite topic. How do we communicate with the player? They take care of making sure players can interact with the game. As someone who worked within the UX area a lot, I can say that this is very different to most work that other game designers do. Game designers should always assume the role of the player, of course, for what they are creating. But UX designers need to know what works and what doesn't. A bad designed click flow can destroy the experience, no matter how well a feature was designed. They design the flow and UI around all the features, up to how players get into and out of the game. They also often help design the save systems and accessibility options. It is a very special field, and often it is assumed that regular game designers can just do this as well. But I would argue it is the most specialized area that needs a very different skill set from most of the other game design areas. So these are the main design roles on most projects, at least when the team size is above a certain threshold. But there are a few more game design roles I want to mention. Most of the times, games are played across multiple platforms. Sometimes they specialize on either a specific console or PC, but often as a designer you need to make sure that your features work on multiple platforms. But there are designers that specialize in designing on specific platforms. The mobile and VR designers. Most of the time they belong in the game design generalist category, but they know the ins and outs of the platform and can address common issues and challenges adequately. Designing for mobile or VR is quite different to the PC or consoles, as players interact with them very differently, so base knowledge is needed to really succeed here. And all of these designers need to get managed and empowered. For this, there's always a game design lead and/or director, and sometimes a game design manager. These roles know what game design is and what their designers need, but don't do the detailed design work. The manager's main purpose is to empower the designers and create a safe environment for them to work in. The leads and directors are often involved in the concept stage to help flesh out the vision and maybe write some concept documents. In some companies, they are also involved in the first prototypes for the proof of concept. But when the project ramps up, they are mostly managing and organizing the work and people, and they often take over the communication upwards to the higher levels of the hierarchy. Often they also review designs and give a lot of feedback to make sure everything is according to the vision and the direction of other directors. And this concludes my little game design roles overview and what they are doing within the projects. As I said earlier, which of these roles are actually existent on a project strongly depends on the structure and size of a company and team. In smaller projects, there are often only game design generalists. These generalists do need to make all of this work to an extent. As you can see, the game design work is a really wide field. So, expecting a game designer to be able to do all of this, and maybe even in different engines, is very unrealistic. Only a small portion of people is so good and experienced in multiple of these areas, as they require many different skill sets to master and a lot of time to learn. So, now you know what game designers do within the production of a video game. As you can see, they do many things, and the bigger games get, the more specialized the role gets. When you are interested in becoming a game designer, or you are in the process of becoming one, you might want to try out as many of these areas as you can in order to find the one that suits you best. Because working in the different areas feels very different. Someone who loves to write would likely enjoy narrative designer or writer positions, but is likely not suited for technical designer or system designer roles. Someone who wants to get their hands dirty in engine should look into content and mission designer roles and probably not look too much into feature design or writing roles. So then, when you are getting asked what game design is the next time, you know what to say. It's everything. Or you just send them the link to this video. Take care, everyone.